Hi bunnies! Today I'm filming a makeup tutorial for my everyday alternative makeup, which in other words is the makeup I'm wearing right now. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section and I'll try my very best to help. Without further ado, let's get on to the actual tutorial. As always, see if you can spot the little pushing in the video, and if you do spot it, then make sure to let me know the timestamp in the comments, and yeah. So I decided to do a voiceover because I find it really hard to explain what I'm doing while I'm trying to do it, if that makes sense. Okay, so first I start off with skincare. I clip my hair back with these little non-crease hair clips to get it out of the way. Then you just saw me using some toner, serum, and now some oil. If you're interested in the products I use, they'll be linked in the description box below. I follow up by using moisturiser and sunscreen to finish my skincare routine. As someone who's Australian, I always make sure to put sunscreen on my ears and neck because the sun touches those parts too. Also, as you can see, I'm super pale and I burn really easily. Next, I use the e.l.f. Niacinamide Power Grip Primer and put it on my forehead, chin and cheeks. I rub it in thoroughly and make sure I've covered every part of my face that I put makeup on. Next, I just use a random lip balm to keep my lips hydrated. I was struggling to get my camera to focus on it there. Next, I move on to brows. I just use the e.l.f. Clear Brow Gel. I first brush them up with the gel and then I use the tip of the brush to sort of carve them into the shape that I want. If you have thicker brows like I naturally do, you can also brush them inwards towards the centre of your brows and pinch the hairs together to mimic making them look thinner as an alternative to shaving or plucking them thinner. Now time for eyeliner. Trigger warning for eye pulling. I was really struggling to get this cap off. But I start by lining my waterline with this black e.l.f. eyeliner. I do this before concealer because it can get really messy sometimes. It also gives my primer time to fully sink in. I then move on to concealer. I put it on my chin, forehead, under eyes, and spot conceal my pimples or blemishes. And then I also put a little bit on the corners of my mouth and in the crevice of my nostrils just to brighten up those areas. I then just use a tiny beauty blender because I find it easier to get under my eyes with it. Now I use this BYS nude palette and a bronzer brush to do some bronzer because I don't have a bronzer palette. I use a nice warm brown colour from the palette and just tap it into my hairline and into my cheekbones. Blush. I use a super old e.l.f. blush palette and a super fluffy brush. I use the slightly shimmery dark rose colour and I put that on the apples of my cheeks, my temples and a little bit on my chin and the tip of my nose. brows by filling them in. I use the BYS palette again with a thin angled brush. I mix a dark brown and the same colour I used for bronzer earlier to try and match my eyebrow colour. I just tap the pigment in where my brows look sparse and softly shape them with the colour as well. For my nose contour, I continue with using the thin angled brush again with the bronzer shade, as well as the softer brown and neutral, more contour looking shade. To actually contour, I draw a line on the tip of my nose and blend it down to my nostrils with the brush a little bit. Then I draw a line a few centimeters above that where the tip of my nose ends and the bridge starts. Then to shape the sides, I draw an angled line from the corner of my brow down to the centre line we drew just before. I then repeat that on the other side of my nose. After that, I just use my finger to blend everything out so it doesn't look so harsh. It just sounded absolutely boring here, so I apologise if it gets harder to hear me. To brighten it up a bit, I use the widest shade I have on the palette and rub it on the tip of my nose, the bridge and the sides below the side of the nose contour. This also helps make the contour pop. Now I move on to powder. I use this really beat up Rimmel London pressed powder with a fluffy brush. I just put that on my T-zone and under my eyes to help with oiliness. Let's do eyeliner now. It's a bit hard to do, so I'll try to explain it well. First, I do my inner corners. I have liquid eyeliner and I find that works better for this than an eyeliner pencil. Unfortunately, I didn't realise my hand was blocking the camera. What you want to do is angle the pen away from your eye and use the tip to draw backwards towards your eye to make it look super pointy and sharp. At this point, I was super confused because my eyeliner pen just stopped working randomly. Does anyone else's do that? bottom to go in between my lashes on the top lid of my eye, just to cover it up and make it look better when we put on the lashes later. I think from memory this is called tight lining, but I'm not entirely sure. For the wing, I find using my free hand to pull my skin taut helps to get a crisper line. I just draw an angled straight line from the outer corner of my eye to wherever I think looks best. Then I thicken the line by carefully drawing from the end of the wing back to roughly the middle of my eye. Then you just fill in the space between the two lines with more eyeliner. Feel free to take your time with this part, it can be super annoying to figure out. Moving on to eyeshadow, I just use a black shade and an eyeshadow brush. I just swipe it all over my eyelid below my crease, bringing it softly out to the wing. Make sure not to put any eyeshadow below or past the wing, as it can make it look really muddy. Now for lashes, I start by curling them and then brushing them through with a spoolie, which makes them look really wispy. Then I follow up by using the Lash Sensational Mascara from Maybelline. I use the same spoolie to brush through my lashes before the mascara dries to get rid of any clumps. Afterwards, I use the excess product on the spoolie to coat my lower lashes. lips, I first wipe them with a tissue to get rid of any product that might be on them. Using the same two shades that I used for the nose contour, I tap the product into my Cupid's bow to mimic looking like I don't have one. I then drag it down the sides of my lip to make it look more cohesive. With the excess product on the brush, I flick out from the corners of my lips to make them look a bit bigger and more cute. Using the same technique as my top lip, I put some on the underside of my bottom lip to make sure my lips don't look too top heavy. Now moving on to highlighter. I use the 𝒫𝓇ℴ𝒹𝓊𝒈 eye pencil in the shade Frost. I put it on my chin, the tip and bridge of my nose, the inner corners of my eyes, under the end of my brows, and my cheekbones. Then I just use my finger to blend it all out. To finish, I put on fake lashes. These are optional, but I personally prefer using them. I put some lash glue on my lash line first, and then put some on the band of the fake lashes. I blow on them for about 30 seconds so the glue gets tacky, and then using the cutest little tweezers, I put the middle of the lash on the middle of the end of my lash line, as these are half lashes. Then, after a second of letting it sit, I connect the end part of the lash to the end of my lash line, and then I connect the inner corner of the lash to the middle of my lash line. Then just repeat for the other side. Now all I do is brush through my eyelashes with a spoolie to fluff them up, following with curling my lashes again to make sure that the falsies are stuck on and that my lashes stay up. All that's left is to pull out the hair clips, do some final touches, and we're done. And with that, we're done. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and that it helps some of you with your makeup, beauty and fashion journey. Have an amazing rest of your day or night, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon in my next post. Stay comfy. Bye bye.